There is something special about watching a machine evolve from promise to legend. About seeing a team of engineers and riders push past the limits of what was thought possible and then rewrite the rules entirely. The late 1990s in Grand Prix racing were a period of pure intensity. Power, precision, and pride collided on every straight and through every corner. The air shimmered with two-stroke energy, and the world waited for the next true contender to rise. It was in that environment that one machine emerged, defined not only by its speed but by the courage behind its creation. Its story is one of comeback and conviction, of a company reclaiming its place among the fastest on Earth. Stay tuned, hit like and subscribe, and let us know which machine you want to explore next. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 arrived at a time when the sport had become brutally competitive. Every team sought the perfect balance between speed and control, and Suzuki knew its existing machine could no longer compete at the top. The company had a long history of two-stroke excellence, but by the late 1990s its racing program was losing ground. The previous iterations of the RGV500 were capable yet outdated, carrying design DNA that traced back to the mid-1980s. Rivals had advanced with more refined chassis concepts and aggressive power delivery, while Suzuki's approach favored stability over raw pace. This philosophy kept them consistent but rarely victorious. The podium was within reach but the championship seemed distant. Engineers at Hamamatsu faced a choice: accept mediocrity or reinvent the foundation of their Grand Prix program. They chose the latter, giving birth to the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 for the 1999 season. The RGV500 XR89 was more than a new racing motorcycle. It was an engineering reset. The team started with the architecture of the prior XR88, but stripped it to its essentials. Every component was reconsidered to reduce weight, enhance response, and extract efficiency from the aging two-stroke formula. The 499 cubic centimeters V4 engine remained the heart of the machine, but nearly everything around it changed. The frame was redesigned using lighter aluminum and a shorter wheelbase to improve agility through the corners. The airbox and fuel tank were reshaped to lower the center of gravity, and the swing arm geometry was reimagined to provide better traction on exit. These were not just small refinements. They represented a complete shift in Suzuki's design philosophy. The RGV500 XR89 aimed to corner faster, accelerate harder, and remain stable under intense braking, all while being easier for the rider to control across a full race distance. The development process was grueling. Suzuki's engineers, led by a new generation of designers who understood both the mechanical and aerodynamic challenges of modern GP racing, worked tirelessly through winter testing. They evaluated everything from exhaust resonance to tire load patterns, searching for every possible advantage. The XR89 was equipped with a reworked twin-crank V4 engine producing around 180 horsepower at over 12,000 revolutions per minute. Power delivery was made more linear to improve traction off slower corners, a critical improvement for consistency. At a time when other manufacturers struggled with unpredictable power bands, Suzuki sought smoothness. The goal was a motorcycle that allowed the rider to push with confidence lap after lap. This mindset reflected the team's belief that stability and predictability were as valuable as sheer horsepower. Rider input was essential to shaping the Suzuki RGV500 XR89's character. Kenny Roberts Jr., who had joined the factory team in 1999, played a pivotal role. His riding style favored precision and rhythm over wild aggression, making him the perfect match for the bike's evolving behavior. Roberts's feedback led to subtle but crucial changes, particularly in the suspension and throttle mapping. The team collaborated closely with Showa and Bridgestone to fine-tune the chassis balance. Every test session brought improvements: better corner entry, more responsive steering, and enhanced durability of the rear tire over race distance. By mid-season, the XR89 had transformed from an experimental project into a genuine contender. The 1999 season became the proving ground for Suzuki's rebirth. Early races showed flashes of brilliance. Roberts Jr. consistently ran near the front, challenging for podiums even when conditions were difficult. The XR89's agility in tight corners gave it an edge on more technical circuits, while its stability allowed riders to maintain higher corner speeds. However, the team still faced limitations. The engine, though improved, was less powerful than some rivals, and reliability remained a concern in long, high-heat events. But the promise was undeniable. Suzuki had built something that could fight again, and the racing world took notice. As the season progressed, the XR89 continued to evolve, integrating incremental improvements that would later form the backbone of the 2000 championship winning machine. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 also marked a cultural shift within Suzuki's racing division. It was no longer about chasing the competition. It was about defining the company's identity through innovation and precision. Engineers found renewed pride in the process, and morale across the team improved. The results on track reflected that energy. Roberts Jr. secured multiple podiums, and each one felt like a validation of the team's relentless pursuit of improvement. By season's end, Suzuki had returned to the spotlight not through luck, but through methodical engineering and teamwork. Technically, the XR89 introduced several innovations that would influence future racing development. The exhaust system used a revised expansion chamber design for improved scavenging efficiency, delivering more mid-range torque. The fuel injection mapping was refined to reduce throttle lag, providing smoother control out of low-speed corners. The chassis stiffness was carefully balanced. Too much rigidity caused instability, while too little made corner entry vague. Suzuki's engineers struck a near-perfect compromise, giving riders the confidence to brake later and turn faster. Every adjustment, from seat position to rear linkage, was aimed at achieving one unified goal: controllable speed. What set the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 apart from its competitors was its personality. It was not a brute force machine that overwhelmed riders with raw power. It was an instrument of precision. The motorcycle rewarded smooth, calculated riding, and punished hesitation. It was the kind of machine that demanded respect and gave back performance when treated with finesse. That quality made it stand out in an era dominated by aggressive, high-strung two-strokes. The XR89 proved that refinement could compete with sheer aggression, a lesson that would define Suzuki's approach into the new millennium. By the end of its debut season, the XR89 had not yet captured a championship, but it had restored belief within Suzuki. The engineers knew the foundation was strong, and the data gathered would be invaluable. The next evolution, the XR90, would carry those lessons forward and turn potential into victory. Yet, none of that success would have been possible without the leap of faith represented by the XR89. It was a machine born from necessity, developed through persistence, and remembered for sparking one of the most remarkable comebacks in MotoGP history. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 was more than a motorcycle. It was a statement of intent from a brand that refused to fade into the background. Its balance of engineering innovation, rider synergy, and organizational resilience made it a cornerstone of Suzuki's modern racing legacy. In a sport defined by fractions of a second and relentless innovation, the XR89 proved that thoughtful design could reignite greatness. The 1999 season ended not with a championship trophy, but with something arguably more valuable: proof that Suzuki could once again shape the future of Grand Prix racing. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 set the stage for one of the most significant transformations in Grand Prix racing. When it appeared in 1999, it was clear that Suzuki had tapped into a new design language that prioritized agility, predictability, and rider feedback over brute force power. What made the XR89 so fascinating was how it bridged two eras: the raw, analog nature of two-stroke racing and the emerging demand for precision and balance that would later define the four-stroke era. It carried the DNA of old-school performance yet hinted at the sophistication of modern MotoGP machines. The RGV500 XR89 was not just another race bike. It was Suzuki's blueprint for redemption. At the heart of the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 was a compact 499 cubic centimeters V4 engine that continued Suzuki's preference for twin crankshaft layouts. This configuration, unique among competitors, allowed smoother firing intervals and reduced vibration, which translated into more stable handling and improved throttle control. The engineers reworked port timing, adjusted crankcase volume, and fine-tuned exhaust resonance to generate a broader spread of torque. While the headline horsepower figure hovered around 180, what truly mattered was how the power arrived. The XR89's delivery was smoother and more controllable, giving riders a margin of stability through mid-corner acceleration that rivals struggled to match. This was the secret weapon that made it competitive despite lacking top-end dominance. Another major leap came in the chassis. Suzuki redesigned the XR89's twin-spar aluminum frame to be both shorter and more rigid in specific areas, enhancing corner entry and front-end feel. The subframe and swing arm were refined using lessons from endurance testing, creating a structure that balanced stiffness and compliance. With input from Roberts Jr. and test rider Nobuatsu Aoki, the geometry was optimized for fast transitions and improved lean stability. The changes gave the XR89 an uncanny ability to hold tight lines through fast corners without unsettling the rear. This trait became its defining characteristic, a sense of planted precision that allowed consistent lap times even as tires degraded. Aerodynamics also played a subtle but important role in the XR89's evolution. The fairing design was narrower, improving top speed slightly by reducing frontal drag. More importantly, it directed airflow efficiently toward the radiator and engine bay to manage temperatures, which was crucial for maintaining power output over long races. The ergonomic setup favored an aggressive yet natural riding posture, giving riders more leverage under braking. These details, small on their own, combined to create a machine that felt alive yet controllable, a hallmark of Suzuki's renewed focus on rider harmony. The relationship between Kenny Roberts Jr. and the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 deserves special attention because it illustrates how technology and talent fused into something greater. Roberts's style emphasized smooth throttle application and precise line selection. He exploited the XR89's strengths to the fullest, using its stability to brake later and carry momentum through the turn. His results that season were not simply flashes of brilliance. They were evidence that the XR89 had unlocked a new performance window. Roberts's podium finishes signaled to Suzuki's leadership that their investment had paid off, and that with further refinement, a championship was possible. Behind the scenes, Suzuki's racing division underwent a cultural overhaul during the XR89 program. Communication between departments improved dramatically. The chassis team worked directly with engine specialists, and test riders' feedback was incorporated faster than ever before. The result was a more agile development cycle that could adapt to the rapid evolution of the sport. In a sense, the XR89 represented not only a mechanical breakthrough but also a human one. It demonstrated that collaboration could be as powerful as horsepower in achieving success. The RGV500 XR89 also influenced the design principles of later Suzuki projects, including the early four-stroke GSX-RR prototypes. Engineers took lessons from how the XR89 distributed weight and managed airflow, applying similar philosophies to the new era of machines. Even decades later, one can trace the lineage of Suzuki's modern MotoGP success back to the breakthroughs achieved in 1999. The XR89's emphasis on balance over aggression became part of Suzuki's engineering identity, influencing how the brand approached everything from MotoGP to production sport bikes. The technical story of the XR89 would not be complete without examining its impact on team strategy and racecraft. The bike's reliability and consistency allowed Suzuki to plan races differently. Instead of relying on outright speed, they focused on tire conservation and steady lap times. This approach frustrated rivals who expected Suzuki to fade mid-race, only to find Roberts Jr. still pushing at full pace with stable grip levels. That discipline and strategic control mirrored the machine's personality. Calm, measured, and unrelenting. In terms of mechanical maintenance, the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 was demanding but rewarding. Two-stroke engines required meticulous care, with constant attention to piston wear, crank alignment, and gearbox calibration. Yet the team's improved understanding of these components meant fewer mechanical retirements. Every rebuild yielded incremental progress. Every data point contributed to the refinement that would define the next season's machine. This iterative development reflected Suzuki's commitment to precision engineering, a trait that became synonymous with its factory program in the early 2000s. When viewed within the context of racing history, the XR89 stands as one of the last great expressions of two-stroke mastery. It represented the peak of a dying art form. Machines that demanded skill, mechanical empathy, and courage to ride at the limit. As the world transitioned to four-stroke technology in the following years, the XR89 remained a reminder of the raw yet disciplined nature of two-stroke competition. Its success validated Suzuki's patient approach to innovation, proving that progress does not always come from radical reinvention but from perfecting the fundamentals. Beyond the racetrack, The XR89 inspired enthusiasts and engineers alike. It demonstrated that with enough vision and persistence, even a brand considered past its prime could return to prominence. Its story resonated because it mirrored human perseverance. It showed that recovery is possible through careful planning and unwavering belief. For Suzuki fans, the XR89 was more than a motorcycle. It was a symbol of resilience and craftsmanship. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 also helped redefine the role of data in racing. Telemetry became central to the team's workflow, allowing engineers to correlate rider feedback with measurable parameters like suspension load, throttle position, and wheel slip. This blend of human intuition and digital precision set new standards for how factory teams approached performance analysis. What began as a catch-up effort soon positioned Suzuki as one of the most technologically disciplined teams in the paddock. When the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 appeared on the grid in 1999, few expected that within a year Suzuki would be standing atop the championship podium again. Yet the transformation that began with that machine reshaped not only Suzuki's fortunes but also the landscape of Grand Prix racing itself. The XR89 proved that a well-balanced motorcycle could outperform rivals with more power or larger budgets. It established the design and development principles that would carry Suzuki into the new millennium, defining a legacy that endures across decades of racing evolution. The direct outcome of the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 success was the creation of its successor, the XR90. Using the XR89 as a base, Suzuki refined every element. Power increased slightly, but the real gains came in control and durability. The lessons learned in engine mapping, chassis flexibility, and tire preservation translated into a machine that was predictable at the limit, allowing Kenny Roberts Jr. to ride with exceptional consistency. That consistency proved decisive in 2000 as he captured the 500 cubic centimeters World Championship, marking Suzuki's first Premier Class title since 1982. Every lap of that season carried the imprint of the XR89's groundwork. Without the innovations born from the 1999 campaign, that victory would have remained out of reach. The XR89's legacy extended far beyond the championship. It demonstrated that progress in racing could come from refinement rather than revolution. In an era when rivals pursued ever more extreme power figures, Suzuki proved that controllability was the true key to speed. This philosophy would later define MotoGP's transition to four-stroke engines. The RGV500 XR89's emphasis on balanced performance influenced Suzuki's GSX-RR design decades later, ensuring that the lessons of the past continued to shape future machines. The idea that the rider and machine must operate as one cohesive system became a guiding principle for Suzuki engineers well into the 21st century. Equally significant was how the XR89 revitalized Suzuki's racing identity. Before 1999, the brand's reputation in the top class had faded. The RGV500 XR89 changed that narrative overnight. It reminded fans and competitors alike that Suzuki was still capable of producing world-class engineering. That renewed credibility attracted new talent, fresh investment, and a wave of confidence within the organization. Engineers began to believe in their instincts again. Riders trusted the team's direction. The factory embraced a spirit of continuous improvement that replaced the uncertainty of the early 1990s with optimism and purpose. The machine also left a mark on rider psychology. The XR89 gave competitors a tool that responded faithfully to their inputs, creating a deeper sense of trust. Roberts Jr. often spoke about the bike's predictability, describing how he could push to the limit without second-guessing its reactions. That psychological comfort translated directly into better lap times and fewer errors under pressure. The concept of a rider-friendly race bike, one that encourages confidence rather than demands constant correction, became a defining characteristic of Suzuki's approach thereafter. In many ways, the XR89 was not just a step forward in technology, but a step forward in understanding human performance at high speed. The timing of the XR89's arrival was also crucial. It came at the tail end of the two-stroke era, just before the world moved toward four-stroke MotoGP machinery. That gave it an almost mythical quality. The last great two-stroke from Suzuki, refined to near perfection. Enthusiasts remember the XR89 as the swan song of an era defined by sound, smoke, and mechanical purity. Its place in history is secure not just because it won races, but because it embodied the peak of two-stroke design before the curtain fell on that chapter of racing. It symbolized both the end of one era and the beginning of another. From an engineering perspective, the XR89's influence can still be traced in how race motorcycles are developed today. The shift toward lighter frames, centralized mass, and precise throttle control began in earnest with machines like this one. Its compact V4 layout inspired subsequent exploration of weight distribution and aerodynamics. The collaborative development culture it fostered, where data analysts, mechanics, and riders worked as an integrated team, has become standard practice in every top-tier racing outfit. What started as a necessity for Suzuki in 1999 evolved into a global model for competitive success. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 also demonstrated that smaller, more resource-conscious teams could compete with giants through ingenuity. While rivals spent heavily on exotic materials and large-scale testing, Suzuki relied on efficiency and creative problem-solving. The XR89 became a case study in how disciplined engineering and smart use of data could neutralize disadvantages in funding. That lesson still resonates across motorsport. Innovation is not always about spending more, but about thinking better. As the sport advanced into the MotoGP era, the memory of the XR89's rise served as a benchmark for Suzuki's later efforts. When Suzuki returned to MotoGP in the 2010s after a brief absence, its engineers often referenced the balance and rideability of the XR89 as a guiding concept. The eventual success of the GSX-RR, culminating in Joan Mir's 2020 MotoGP championship, reflected the same principles that defined the 1999 machine. It was as if the spirit of the XR89 had traveled forward in time, proving that great ideas never truly fade. Perhaps the most lasting impact of the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 is emotional rather than technical. It reminded racing fans why they fell in love with the sport in the first place. The pursuit of perfection, the artistry of control, and the thrill of redemption. Every corner it carved, every podium it earned, told a story of persistence paying off. The XR89 is remembered not just as a tool of competition, but as a symbol of belief. A belief that no matter how far a brand might fall behind, it can rise again through creativity and courage. In the end, the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 stands as a bridge between eras and philosophies. It closed the book on one form of racing and opened the door to another, carrying with it lessons that still guide engineers and riders today. Its design distilled decades of experience into a singular expression of balance and power. Its triumphs restored faith in Suzuki's racing vision and proved that excellence is not a product of circumstance but of will. The XR89 may have run its final laps long ago, but its echo continues to resonate through every modern Suzuki that takes to the track. That is the true measure of legacy. When a machine built for one season ends up defining generations. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89 remains one of the most compelling stories in motorcycle racing history, because it represents both the end of an era and the beginning of a new mindset. Before 1999, Suzuki had spent more than a decade searching for the formula to reclaim its competitive edge. The XR89 provided that missing piece, not through brute performance, but through intelligence, precision, and balance. It transformed Suzuki's image from a fading competitor into a technological force, and reminded the racing world that innovation often comes from quiet confidence rather than loud ambition. The 1999 season did not bring an immediate championship, but it brought something arguably more powerful: belief. That belief laid the groundwork for the 2000 title and every success that followed. The Suzuki RGV500 XR89's importance lies not only in what it achieved but in how it achieved it. Every advancement it introduced, engine mapping refinement, chassis optimization, and aerodynamic efficiency, set the tone for the evolution of modern MotoGP design. It was a product of relentless iteration and deep respect for rider feedback, embodying Suzuki's culture of disciplined engineering. The partnership between the XR89 and Kenny Roberts Jr. demonstrated how mechanical trust could turn potential into performance, proving that rider confidence is as vital as horsepower. The machine's influence extended beyond racing, inspiring the philosophy behind future Suzuki sport bikes, where rideability and precision became hallmarks of the brand. Looking back, the XR89 can be seen as a masterclass in purposeful design. Every component served a function. Every detail contributed to harmony between rider and machine. It was a motorcycle that rewarded skill, demanded focus, and reflected the quiet brilliance of its creators. Even today, when MotoGP machines are powered by complex electronics and aerodynamics, the core principles introduced by the Suzuki RGV500 XR89, predictability, feedback, and equilibrium, remain the benchmarks of excellence. It stands as proof that true progress in racing comes not from adding complexity, but from refining simplicity to perfection. The legacy of the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 endures in every racer who values balance over aggression, in every engineer who searches for elegance in design, and in every fan who appreciates the beauty of control at the edge of physics. It taught the racing world that redemption is possible through ingenuity, that dominance can be rebuilt through patience, and that greatness often begins with a single determined step forward. More than 2 decades later, the spirit of the XR89 continues to define Suzuki's racing identity, serving as both inspiration and reminder that innovation is timeless. The story of the Suzuki RGV500 XR89 is not merely about a motorcycle. It is about the courage to start again, the discipline to improve relentlessly, and the satisfaction of finally seeing a vision realized at full speed.